Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Let me kind of lower this as I get set up. I think we're on number 9. Tonight we'll talk about a few things. If you guys have any questions about the latest video that we just released, I'm also going to talk a little bit about just a big shout out. I'm going to start picking covers for our podcast here, which we've been doing for a while. This is like episode 20, I guess you could say, but we sort of did like a soft first half last year, and then now we're back and we sort of have everything that we need to actually make this functional, or at least we hope we do. And so anyway, I'm going to give a special shout out to this guy who I'll tell you guys why here in a little bit. So if you have any questions, lock them in, load them in, fire them away, and we'll go over them and we'll discuss a little bit about Next Level Fishing TV, some of the episodes coming up. And we're going to answer a question that you guys have been asking for a while now. So sit back, give me about... All right. Let's see here. Mic check. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you guys have had a wonderful week of a lot of rain, because that's pretty much all that we've been getting here recently. We've got a little system, a band that's sort of opened up down here in the Texas coast. And I guess like the little top end of it sort of whipped out today. And boy, was it really blowing wind today, man. Holy smokes. I mean, I'm going to say 45 mile an hour winds, dude. Maybe 50 mile an hour gust. If you guys follow me on my Instagram, not on the Next Level, but my personal one, I posted up just a little quick clip of how bad the wind was whipping, and it was getting, dude. It was getting. Ronnie Gonzalez, how you doing, man? If for some reason we begin to buffer, just let me know. We're testing out a few things here. We're getting things kind of set up to where we're about this close. We're going to set up a number so that you guys can call in. You know what I mean? Let's have fun with it, right? That's sort of what blogging is all about. You're going to notice a lot of guys are going to start to do this. It's just trending, dude. You know, everybody's got a blog. The fishing world has just now picked it up. A couple guys did it last year. They've been doing it for about a year now. And actually, there's been a few that have been doing it for a good while. But it just started really getting in, of course, once Joe Rogan and company started just hammering them out. I think it's cool. It's fun. You know, it kind of gives us something to talk about. And we'll see how we'll sort of spread all this out. We're starting it here on YouTube, but I'm sure we'll eventually iTunes and all that stuff, or whatever, the podcast app, so that you guys can tune in on that stuff. But we're starting here with you guys, because you guys we're here since the beginning. This is where we started, YouTube. We started off from YouTube, then we went to all the other Instagrams, Facebook, and then we got picked up by a few publications. So then we started writing, and we got to share our stories there, our reports there. Like, for instance, big shout out to the #1 leading magazine, kayak fishing related, which is Kayak Angler. We've done several articles with those guys, and it's been cool, man. It's been cool. There's not a lot of guys that write from Texas. Not a lot of there are some, but just not as much as you would see on the East Coast or West Coast. And rightfully so. Like, those guys have some amazing species, but Texas has amazing species too. It's just that nobody talks about them. And a lot of ours some of them are diamond in the rough, dude. So we've been able to contribute to that. It's been great. And then, of course, if you guys don't know, if you're local here in Texas, from Louisiana all the way down to Texas, and if you want to see what we're doing, like latest and greatest as far as fishing reports, like not just Next Level Fishing and all this, the show and all that, but if you actually want to see a lot of true behind the scenes, how good the fishing is, this is a free publication. This is the Saltwater Angler magazine, which is a bi-weekly. It releases 2 times a week. You'll see myself and Ram. We contribute amongst other great anglers. But as far as who's tied to what we're all doing, it's me and Ram so far. Be nice to get Ruben on there, but I know Ruben's a busy guy. So, yeah, those are free, by the way. So if you're from San Antonio or along the coast, you gotta, ask your local taqueria or gas station to scoop those up, man. It's free info. All right, let's see who's in right now. So we got Ronnie Gonzalez. What's up, brother? Sweet Luis Black Dot Tail Adventures. What's going on? BZ6 Big Fishy. What is going on? I'm trying out this new beta YouTube thing, and we'll see how it goes. We got a couple giveaways today. I'm going to give away 2 decals. I need to clean out the last of my decals. I have the brand new ones. What we try and do here at on the show is every year we'll try and tweak our decal. So we get new ones in, and we get, really the old ones don't last. But I just got some of the tail end of the old ones, and I'm going to be giving a couple away today. I don't know. We'll figure something out here. It's going to be kind of a quick one today because I've got fantasy football here in less than an hour. So if you guys have some of your favorite picks. All right, so let's see. Let's get to some of these questions before I give my shout out to the cover guy, the cover girl today, or cover guy. How to find trout this upcoming fall. Grass holes, flats, deep, shallow. Man, that's a good question, dude. And so we've done a couple episodes on trout, and we focused mainly on winter trout, right? So I would say, one of the you can approach this complicated, or you can approach this very simply. And I would say, if you don't have a lot of experience catching good quality big trout, I'm gonna do this a simple way. So you're coming up into fall, right? There are some. Keep this behind your head and research this. The key to the best success with trout fishing is understanding cycles, trout cycles. But that's something you're going to have to dig and get info, because it can be different. I don't know where you're from, and I don't want to lead you in the wrong direction. Where I fish for big trout, I'm I know how everything sort of goes on that. But before, that's the more difficult part of it. The easy part is just understanding what trout structure is. Everybody always gets confused. What is trout structure? What do trout like? Okay, well, grass is technically a trout structure. Trout structure. Trout structure. You also have, and if you guys have any questions while I'm answering this one, just keep firing them away. You also have, there's rocks, or that's a type of structure. And, what's near anything that is metallic, rock formations, drop-offs, and there's a little bit of a combination, I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of guys can easily catch trout with in and around high-moving current, right? Because trout are smart. I mean, they're ambushers, so typically, moving current is always going to bring your bait around. So that can fluctuate. Moving water can fluctuate depending on what depth you're targeting these trout. So if you're back into some brackish water, you're going to notice there's outgoing and incoming tide. Pay attention to what the water's doing when both of that happens. So if you're fishing some incoming tide and you're out there in some brackish, I'm just using this as an example. Corpus or Galveston? This is Corpus. We're in Corpus. Oh, Corpus to Galveston. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, good. So you're going to be fishing probably shallow for quality trout. So this would be a good example. I've noticed, and I've caught a lot of really good trout when it's super cold on incoming tide, when bait is scarce, on little small nook and cranny areas that are affected by moving tide. So in other words, once tide is moving in, and if you can find an area that the water just looks like it's cutting across or it's dumping, those are some of your better areas, man. Look for a lot of mud, especially out there in Galveston. There's a couple areas where I know how to catch some good quality trout, and one of them is very similar to Galveston. So I'm looking for that dirty mud, dude. Water temperature differential is pretty key. So you'll see me a lot on these episodes. A lot of people, they give me flack for this, But they're like, why do you have a fish finder and you're in like a foot of water, dude? Well, first off, I'm chart plotting, but more than anything, I'm actually reading the water temperature on my fish finder. I don't care about what I'm reading, what the sonar's picking up. It's worthless, right? When you're at that depth. So I'm looking for that, and so when I approach, I want to get into some nasty stuff in the winter. I want to get into some muddy water, but I want to get into some muddy water that has really good flowing water when either there's an incoming or outgoing tide. And trout need to, they don't eat as aggressively in the winter. Everything slows down. Metabolism slows down, but they still got to eat, man. You know what I'm saying? So the best times is whenever they fall in or out of their cycles, because that's when they're going to be the most hungry. Now, if you're going for deeper water, you're going to want to find some structure, some really good moving water, and play off the wind and just be patient. There's a very big difference between just finding trout and finding trophy trout. So, big trout will eat small trout. I don't know if you guys know that or have not known that, but just keep that in mind. If I'm catching some mediocre trout, dude, and I'm hammering them and they're like 16, 17 to maybe 20 inches, I'll be there for a little bit, but not long. I'd rather move over where I know there's some good structure. And once you get one, man, really hone into that area and try and figure out why. So hopefully that helps you out. Stay tuned though, man, because we're gonna have we're gonna be going after some trout again this fall, just like we did last year. But we're gonna try and upgrade, because I actually this past year I think it was 11 trophy trout. Those are my personal numbers. Now when I say trophy class here is like 27. Is a 27 plus, 27 inches plus, and that's everything. That was, I got about 6 that were over that. My you know what? Let me take this real quick, guys. You're gonna have to give me 1 second here. 1 second. Give me a few seconds here, guys. I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to transition, and we're going to finish this conversation. Okay. I apologize about that. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to answer a call, and it was an important one. So, big fishy, yeah, man. That would be my advice. You're gonna have to work a lot of water. I wish I could. I just know where the key areas are at in my backyard, so it's very tough to tell you exactly how to work Galveston because I really haven't caught big trout in Galveston, but I know the guys do catch some pretty decent trout out there. Water temperature is key. Moving water is key. Trout structure is key. And, trout structure can be drop-offs, a little bit of grass. One thing that I noticed, like, if you are working in an area that is kind of dredged out a little bit or there's a small channel and it's thick, the vegetation that banks off the sides of it, and if it goes up into like a shallow area, I find that a lot of big trout like to hang around those areas and just hunker down in the grass, and they just wait for an opportunity to strike, So there's a few different ways to target them with lures. Personally, I like to use jerk baits, and I like to create a reaction strike. So, most of the bait is going to be lethargic, and I try and match the hatch. I try and simulate that. So I will go literally, I have to pick my days though, when you go 0 weight on a jerk style bait, I mean, if you've got high wind or high moving currents, all that changes the way your lure acts. You might not be able to get that lure to just sink long enough to the target area that you're trying to reach before the tide or the wind pushes your lure off, and all of a sudden it's just kind of flapping like that, So it can be a little tricky. You just need to adapt to the environment. Obviously, go with the jig head. There's some really good subsurface like suspension lures. Like Paul Brown is great. I've never personally caught a good trout on one, but I've seen a lot of guys do it. I wish I had so I could show you what I use for big trout. I've used these actually. I've never filmed with these, but I have used these. These are saltwater assassins. So I use 3 main lures when I'm going after big trout. These saltwater assassins are legit. Just got to make sure you rig them up right. I use those. What are they called? CS or CM Storms. Gosh, I wish I had a package. I'm dropping the ball here. Those are the jerk style baits that I use. And I use, of course, Matrix Shad, dude. I've been using Matrix Shad for a long time, dude. And I've caught huge trout on those. But I like to work Matrix Shad because of the design of their jig head. I like to work in a little bit of a deeper water column. And then if I'm working shallow, or if the bite is just kind of like, the fish are kind of stunned, or they're just not having it, and it requires a slow presentation, then I'm going to go with the jerk style bait. So, yeah. Let's see. All right. Arturo, welcome, dude. How you doing, brother? So I said, I heard and understand the moving water aspect. Can you explain on other tips? What do trout eat in the fall? Bass feed on shad. Yada, yada, yada. Depends on where you're at. So where I'm at, they'll eat on little shad, but they'll also eat on, I've found them eating, in the fall? Believe it or not, and you can ask my buddy Mario. He made fun of me for doing this. But in the fall, I found them eating a lot of mullet. A lot of mullet, man. Some good-sized mullet. But I'm fishing in that area. I was fishing in about 4 foot of water, and the grass line was sort of low. So, I would say, I don't know what kind of bait runs over there. I mean, I would assume it's pretty similar. I'm trying not to spill the beans here, but where I fish for these big trout, the bait run is a little bit different than your Corpus area in Galveston. So I basically, I just look around, man. Sometimes there's these little shad or what do they call them? I think we have like our little dusky anchovies. A lot of people think that they're just minnows. Sometimes those will hatch. I don't know if those hatch back there though, where I'm thinking. But I'll just try and simulate everything, man. You just look around, see what bait is around, and if it's already gone to that lethargic phase, and that's just where I start. It's not to say that you can't get a trout in the winter on a mediocre fast retrieval, but it's just got to be the right time of year, man. I think, at least through my experience. So I basically will go real small with anything I'm throwing. Big fishy. Hope I'm helping you out here, buddy. All right. So the cover for this podcast, number 9, is going to my good buddy David, man. When you guys see the when you guys see the picture on, you're gonna see a big old bloody king. And kings are messy, dude. If you ever caught a kingfish offshore, they're very messy fish. It doesn't take much to puncture a what do you call that? Like an artery, I guess you could say. They just bleeders, dude. But I went over to San Antonio this week, and he picked up me and my wife's meal, man. And I was trying to get his, and he ended up taking it. So a big shout out to him. And that's just, I fished with David. He's a cool dude, man. UPS driver. If you ever need mail, that's the guy you talk to right there if you're from San Antonio. And I've known him. I put him on his first kingfish, and he got a big one, man. I think it was one of his first kings was like a 48, almost a 50. Or it might have been a 50. I can't remember. It's been a little bit. And since then, man, he's fished with me a few times a year. Real cool guy. And that's who's going to be on our cover here for this podcast number 9. So you'll see him all bloodied up. Shout out to David. Appreciate everything, man. You've been a real good friend in recent years. JB Outdoors, what's up from Destin? How you doing, man? Any footage from Ray Del Mar? Arturo, yes. So we've got a lot of guys asking. One of our episodes right now that we're editing is we filmed. Here, let me show you, actually. I'll show you what we got. Show you 3 things here. And this is going to be something we've never filmed before, so hang on. Okay, so Ray Del Mar, dude, when this episode comes out, it's a tough one to edit because I did a lot of ninja filming, if that makes any sense. I didn't really go off with my cameras at these captain's meetings and stuff like that. And I probably should have. I kind of regret not getting some of these key moments, but I did do a lot of filming. I did a lot of pre-filming, pre-fishing, and day of fishing, and it was just a great event. And when we filmed this our journey to it, as we do every year. I think we did it last year as well. Or actually, no, last year we just filmed behind the scenes of it. And I always lose connection to the chat here, and I'm not too sure why. But I'll figure that out later. So, yeah, we filmed everything that we did. And I thought this was cool, man. This is a goal I've always really wanted to do, and that was to film a win. And this past year I filmed a trout win. But I didn't really get it the way I wanted it. You know what I mean? There was a few things that I feel like I missed. It was kind of rushed. Because it's tough to fish a tournament and worry about filming at the same time, dude. That is hard, man. But it was a goal, It's something that I wanted to film and actually bring. So I got a good taste of it. I've won a few, but I just don't film during tournaments. I just don't. It's kind of like you just don't do that. But I did, and we did with our trout episode. We won that tournament that lasted 3 months, and then I did it again this year. Well, I shouldn't say I did it again. I actually got second place for the Offshore, but that's overall, and then got the 2019 biggest Spanish mackerel and 2019 king. And I've got all this filmed. So that's kind of the big episode that we're working on. And a lot of guys have been asking. We've got a few emails actually about that. I'm surprised how many emails that we actually get and not just comments from videos. I've always found that kind of scary. But they get our emails and they send us, hey, when's this, when's that? And it's coming, man. I just want to make sure that we don't cut any corners. We make sure we tell things how it went down. And there's just so much footage. I've got cool footage of me actually making breakfast and me having conversations on the phone with buddies on how we're going to prepare for this. And they don't even know that I was recording this, but it's there. So it's going to be pretty neat. But that's coming, man. That is definitely coming. Let me see here. I'm going to load up the chat on my phone because I cannot see what you guys are asking. Okay. I'm going to let that load up. Answer a few questions. So this video that we just released, or that I released last few days ago, actually, I think 2 days ago or a day ago, the surf exit video. Just bear with me on that one. I've got to split that one up because there's a lot of little things on it. The reason I decided to do that, man, is because, you know, the offshore scene here in Corpus, it's growing, dude. It's growing probably faster than I think I've ever seen it. And I don't know. I just worry about things too much, and I want to make sure people understand, like, once you go into the offshore world, you're not, you know, you're playing a completely different ball game, dude. Completely. Oop. Okay, here we go. Hang on. Loading up this chat here. Whoop, I better mute that. Okay, now I can see your looking forward. All right, Arturo. Thank you. Appreciate it. I can see y'all's chat now. Trout on top water, loud knockers, no rattlers. Man, dude. Wait, what was I saying first before I get into that? Yeah, so probably the biggest fear of all these offshore kayak anglers, especially when they start off, is the surf. It's just a headache, dude. It can ruin your day. You can lose hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of gear, and I've seen that. But you can play things so much safer if you just make some minor adjustments and think things through. I think it's obviously all of us here are fishermen first, kayakers second, and it's very easy for us to kind of jump the gun. I did on this industry when I first got in. I broke so many rules, and I'm talking life jacket rules, no leashes, like, it's just crazy. And it was because I just, I was excited, dude. I was in my early 20s or mid 20s, and I just, I don't know, dude. You just jump in things and go sometimes without thinking things through. And I just wanted to just make it as easy as possible for people to just kind of see what I'm doing. I don't expect guys to go out there and do that real quick, but I think understanding the surf in Texas and playing around and just always trying to get better at it, that's going to make your offshore fishing experience 10 times better, because the adrenaline is there with offshore. Your day starts when you're punching through the surf. If you get rocked, like, it's a gut check, dude. It mentally messes with your head, and you gotta know you gotta know how and be able to get back up on your horse, and everything be okay, and try it again. And when you get out there, you can have a phenomenal day. You can have a recovery day, but then when you come back, you're worrying about it, and it is probably 3 to 4 times harder to come back in than it is to go out. Without flipping. So that's why I sort of stopped it right there on the exits, and then I left that tail end video. But on this next one that I'm getting ready to release, it's done. I'll probably release it here in a few days. I'm going to break down the coming in approach, and I'm going to answer some of those questions on, well, how does a paddle kayak handle coming back in versus a pedal? And that's a great question, dude. It's a great question, and I can't wait to answer that one because I have both. I have a pedal and I have the Predator PDL, and then I have the Ocean Trident 15. So, yes, sir. Okay, so this question here. Trout on top water. Yeah, man, I mean, It depends on the the time of year, but if we're talking about fall, man, dude, I used to use all that fancy stuff, dude. I used to use the loud knocker, or I used to use anything with a knocker. So my buddy Matt, he just gave me some of those Texas Rattlers. They're like they used to be the Rockport Rattler or whatever, and now they're the Texas. I think I'm saying that right, Texas Rattler. I've used like 3 versions or two or 3 versions of those, and I just got away from it all, dude. I got away from it all. I've actually personally witnessed that sometimes these big trout don't like a lot of noise. I think the smaller ones, it doesn't really matter too much. They seem to be a little bit feistier. They'll readily attack something with a knocker versus a larger trout. At least I feel. It could be in my head. But there was one instance when I was fishing in an area where some water clarity was actually pretty good, and I actually saw this trout, and I scared it, and it kind of, I don't know, dude. I scared 3 of them that day. It could have been just the day, I don't know, maybe they just weren't having it, weren't ready to eat, and they didn't want to be around a lot of noise. But I just haven't had any luck with that. Now, if you're talking about topwater, yeah, I'm all about that topwater single knocker, man, and loud for sure. I kind of adjust, if it's windy out, and I can get up against an area where it's sort of laid down a little bit, enough to work a topwater, that's when I'll start using the louder ones. But I usually like to just start off my early morning, dude, with topwater. That's kind of what Ruben does, and that's sort of rubbed off on me. So, that's typically what I'll use. What do I use that Matrix shad. It's the Matrix topwater. And then I also use where's the other one? I gotta show you guys one of these days. I gotta bring all my gear. I have my gear in the garage, so I'll show you guys that. Thanks for all you do, Chris. Started fishing on a ski, but lots of usable info as on the kayak. Oh, okay. Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I just do this because I love the sport, man. I had if you ever want to read how it all laid out for me, all of the ambassador companies that I represent as an ambassador, they all have my story. They're all the same. I had been land-based fishing, boat fishing, offshore, inshore for pretty much all my life. And then I wanted to do like wade fishing, but I wanted just to be able to cover a little bit more ground. And that kind of got into me, like that mindset. I didn't really know I could do it with a kayak yet, but that was my mindset. And then I started listening and watching these guys from the East Coast, Kayak Kevin and Rob Choi, which, by the way, Rob Choi, he's the artist for that. That's an original painting by him. How cool is that, man? I think we were talking about that last week. That's one of the guys that got me into kayak fishing. I ended up, 7 years later, I got his artwork, dude. So I saw it from those guys. I saw what they were doing, pulling up these big old reds. So then I was like, dang, dude, that's what we got. That's what I got to do, man. Get into kayak fishing. Like, it just looked cool because these guys were bringing up like 60-inch reds and huge striper. They were flipping them over in their kayak with their feet. It was just like, and then they had these big old VHS cameras wrapped up, domed up, one in the back, one in the front, bow to stern, and they were filming all this, dude, like how we do it now, but they were doing this before GoPro. So, man, dude, I was just like, yes. It was like watching dudes, it was like watching a boxing match. That's how crazy these guys were fighting. Because back then, they were in the version of my kayak, but when it, the old school oceans. And those were a little bit lighter, and you would get flung around, dude, trying to fight big old fish like that. So then I started noticing some of the other guys. I started researching. YouTube was still at a very infant stage, but there was a couple guys doing it. I saw a video from Jim Salmons called Why We Fish, and that video literally put the fire into what I'm doing right now. I went out and bought a $300 kayak, and sure enough, dude, a few years later, I end up just somehow finding my way in this industry, writing for it, filming it. I mean, it started off at YouTube, and that's one of the reasons why our growth has been a lot slower throughout the years. We always get these comments like, I cannot believe that, you guys have been around for 4 or 5 years on YouTube and you only got 8,000 subscribers. And I'm like, well, we don't really push out a lot of content, and we're very well spread out. We work with editors on these magazines. I work with 2 editors. And then we have other things that we do. I mean, there's tournaments that we do. And so it slows down a lot of that. But that's, that was just our direction. We've never been the kind of channel that go out there and push out videos every other day. If we did, and if we went sort of more vlog style, we'd probably have a much bigger following. But then we would be more YouTube oriented, which we still are. But we just don't powerhouse it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I appreciate that. Justin Fishing TV, what's up, man? What's going on? If there's anything you guys want to know about, because I'm still at the very tail end of editing this video for the offshore, I'm going to be finishing up with the entry and then the rigging. I'm going to show you guys, or I want to show you guys, what it takes to enter the surf, especially when conditions aren't so favorable. The different ways of going about it, and then how I go about it. But most importantly, the safety aspect, how I rig. Man, I see guys still with 5 years of experience, 6 years of experience, 7 years of experience offshore kayak fishing, and they're still going out there with their rods loaded up, hooks still on them, and they have the rod holders to angle them, but they don't. And you don't want to be that guy that's like, dude, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I don't try and change the way anybody fishes. I just show you guys, how I go about it. And I don't know. That always trips me out, dude. I've seen guys get their eye socket almost taken out. I've seen guys get their heel stuck with a hook. Ram. I've seen guys just 2 weeks ago. My buddy got caught right here on the side of the neck, and he pulled it out real quick before his kayak was drifted off. I've seen guys get black eyes. I've seen guys get clothes ripped off. I've gotten my shorts, dude. I have surfed a wave in naked. Well, not completely naked, but no shorts. And yeah, that was crazy, dude. That was after I flipped. So imagine me. I flipped over, right? I got turtled. I think my shorts got caught like on the side of a rod holder. Maybe it just hit a point and the shorts were already in bad condition, but everything flew off, dude. Boom. And I didn't realize it. I was butt naked until after I jumped on side saddle on my kayak. And then here I am getting ready to flip, and I look down and I realized, oh, okay. I got all these people out there in the, on the beach, weekend warrior beachers, dude. And I'm just like, dude, this has to be a bad dream, man. Like, I'm going to have to walk on the beach naked just to get like an extra pair of shorts. What ended up happening, though, was I was with one of my buddies, and I got to the first bar, and I was trying to tell him, I need some shorts. Get in my truck. Dude, I'm naked. But then I realized, it clicked. I realized I did have a dry bag in my kayak, and I had an extra pair. It was just a shirt, and so I had 2 of them, and I wrapped myself and looked like a Apache Indian, and that's how. Yeah, so that's how that's how that happened. Oh man, leash it or lose it, as Ruben says. Yeah, dude, leash it or lose it. Absolutely. Can't wait to get that Viking. Yeah, dude, the Vikings are great kayaks, great offshore kayaks. Stupendous, dude. I'm gonna do. There's not a big difference, but there's small differences between the Trident 15 and the Viking Pro Fish. Visually, they're very different, but performance, it is so interesting to compare those two. In my opinion, those two are the best offshore rotomold kayaks, performance-wise, surfing-wise, everything. But there are two differences. The big ones are the weight, and the give and take on that is just, it's so amazing, dude. There's nothing bad about the Trident. There's nothing bad about going too light with the reload, but you lose something and you gain something with each one of those attributes. And it's cool. It was cool for me to like figure that out as I was learning how to surf both of those. Very good kayaks though. But yes, you're right. Leash it or lose it. Or if you have hole access, definitely utilize your hole. I don't even leash anything anymore because I can put all my rods inside my hole on that Trident 15. That was one of the biggest things as to why I got that one. And the weight. I like the heavier, slimmer kayaks. Does current play more of a factor offshore than wind? Yes, it does. And that's a really good question, because when you're offshore, man, depending on the conditions, if you're out and it's super flat and it looks like Laguna Madre, obviously wind's going to play a little bit of a factor, but current always plays more if it's greater. The wind really doesn't play. I mean, it does play a factor on what it does to the waves. But even if you're like on 3-foot swells at, let's say, 6 to 8 seconds, you're going to be going up and down quite a bit, right? And you just find a lot of cover in between all the ups and downs on the wind. But like I said, you don't really feel the wind too much. It's more of the current that you'll feel. Our current here in Texas isn't too bad. It is bad in the sense that we're not used to it. But, dude, if you want to see good, crazy current that scares you, talk to the guys in California. Those dudes have some current that'll kill you. If you were to treat some of their areas like we treat ours, you probably wouldn't go. You'd make it maybe a quarter mile, and then you'd get sucked out into the ocean. We have it very easy here. So Florida does have some. I've fished